Well, the so-called Liberation Day has arrived, and in just over an hour's time, Donald Trump will announce his next round of tariffs. Our Washington correspondent, Annelise Nielsen, she joins us live now with a look ahead to this. Annelise, we're still unclear on what these tariffs will include for now.
Look, no one's sure, and this includes the most senior levels of the Trump administration, Congress. This is still a work in progress, even though we've been told, look, this has all been locked in. The best indicator of this is the fact that you had senior Republicans going to the White House to speak with Donald Trump, and this is after a motion was put to the Senate, delayed because of Cory Booker's phenomenal marathon speaking effort to break that record. There is this push in Congress to pass legislation to invalidate the emergency declaration that allowed Donald Trump to levy those original tariffs against Canada. Now, that would almost certainly die as soon as it went to the House of Representatives, and they're out for the rest of the week because of their own internal infighting. But what the risk is 6 months down the line, they could have another go at this legislation. If 2/3 of the Senate passes it, all of a sudden Trump actually has a legislative problem on his hands. And so he's trying to keep fellow Republicans happy before this announcement, which is now almost universally acknowledged going to be a problem for American consumers. In particular, cars is what Americans here are really panicking about. Each car on the road, the ones you and I drive, have 30,000 parts in them. For all those US-made cars, there's an awful lot of foreign pieces of equipment in those cars. And even many of the cars that are assembled here have a lot of construction here. They go across the borders between Mexico and Canada on average 12 times before they're ready to hit the road. And that's for things like when you're dipping a car in anti-corrosive liquid to stop your car rusting down the line. That happens in Canada. It comes back here. It might go to Detroit. It might hop over to Canada, come back to Detroit, and it's an American-made car. So this is the problem that they're facing, and consumers are being told, look, you could be having issues. $10,000 to $20,000 added onto the price of an ordinary SUV. And so that's the kind of stuff that really does send panic across America. So that's why you have some Senate Republicans not exactly on board with Trump's tariff push at the moment.
The president's saying if you're a business in a foreign country and you want to sell to America, move your business here and hire Americans. And in the long run, he's right. But as I've said repeatedly, in the long run, we're all dead. Short run matters too. Nobody knows what the impact of these tariffs is going to be on the economy. I've heard experts, economists say it'll be positive. I've heard other economists in Washington say it'll lead to the apocalypse.
With just a few hours to go, it does seem like Anthony Albanese has been unable to have this phone call with Donald Trump about tariffs. We don't know how much we're going to be impacted by the announcements today, whether it's just a 20% universal reciprocal tariffs that might not hit us too badly, or whether there will be things directly hitting us. I was told for a while that we were going to be hurting for lamb tariffs, but I've been told quite unequivocally that's not going to happen. So that's one thing I'm watching out for today. But at the end of the day, the value of a phone call is in what outcomes you can secure. And so far, it doesn't seem like anyone who has had that phone call access to Donald Trump has been able to secure anything. The big test of that's going to be what happens to the UK. Keir Starmer has had a lot of direct access to Donald Trump. He got to have the fun Oval Office meeting where he handed a letter from King Charles, and that obviously went over extremely well with Donald Trump. Another state invite visit being a record. He obviously loved that. Whether that's going to translate into any kind of outcomes today, the British are as unsure as the rest of us.
A trade war is in nobody's interests, and the country deserves, and we will take, a calm, pragmatic approach. That's why constructive talks are progressing to agree a wider economic prosperity deal with the US. That's why we're working with all industries and sectors likely to be impacted. Our decisions will always be guided by our national interest, and that's why we have prepared for all eventualities, and we will rule nothing out.
So, Pete, we're waiting for this announcement, and I think one of the best indicators of the biggest pressure on Donald Trump in making this announcement is the timing of it. The fact it's after 4 p.m. in the afternoon, US time. They want these announcements after the market's closed. This has already caused a huge impact for the stock market in the United States. That's something Donald Trump watches closely. He's not going to want to see any worse performance after this. And so that's his big worry as he makes these announcements this afternoon.
All right, Annelise Nielsen, we will talk to you again soon.